Well, hello, this is Jeff Gaudiosi, and you're on misplacedstraws.com where music comes to life. My guest today was last on the site back in 2021, but you probably know him best from his time fronting Steve Hackett's live band during the Genesis portions of the set. He's back now with a new solo album out June 20th called Monumentata. Please welcome Nad Sylvan. Welcome, Nad.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me again.
Oh, always my pleasure. Now, Monumentata, it feels like a new beginning for your solo work. The early records, you told the story of your character, the vampire. The last record, Spiritus Mundi, was sort of a palate cleanser with the poems of Yeats set to music. Now, this
True.
record is much more personal. It's very musically eclectic. Were you thinking of sort of a new beginning as you approach this record?
In a way, yeah, I was. I was tired of the vampire character. I don't portray him on stage with Steve anymore either. You know, all those fancy clothes I was wearing and all the makeup, that's gone. Because I felt mature enough to expose myself in a new light, if you like. I mean, to show who I am as a person. And just so much I've gone through since Spiritus Mundi, you know, losing my father last year and my mother been long gone by now. 16 years ago, she passed at the age of 68. And that's sort of, she would have been 85 now, you know, because she was 19 when she had me. Made me think, what actually made me come to terms with the idea of me being the next in line to go one day, you know, because they're all gone, the older generation. Like I usually say, in my age, I know I'm a lot older than you, but in my age, most people, at least one parent has deceased, you know, most cases, both parents. So I guess the vulnerability, the questions of life that sort of shine through on this album. It's not only the song about my dad, especially the title track. It's also the quest for love, being lonely, being on the road. Uh, Not much more to do than to just travel and sing. Lonely, lots of lonely hours in my hotel room, passing time with composing, have my laptop in front of me, and just killing time. Uh, it, it, no, it is a new direction, and I also wanted to be. I didn't want to repeat my musical formula from years ago. I felt like doing something new, and I felt like felt like rocking out quite a bit, combining with some pop elements too.
Oh, without a doubt. You mentioned your dad in the title track, Monumentata. I
Huh?
think personally it's one of the best things you've ever done. Talk a little bit more in depth about the inspiration behind that song.
Number one, the song itself. This is a funny thing that can happen to a composer. So usually, what I have when I start to write, I have ideas in my head that sometimes they've lingered in my head for years, you know, and it's like, and so they start to build in my head, and there will be a new section that pops up. Oh, that got to go with that bit. So sometimes I'm like, we're going to talk about Monumentata, the soundtrack, but this previous song before that, I'm Stepping Out, that whole song, apart from the chorus, was already in my head for maybe 10 years. You know, that's how it works for me. So when I started working on the title track, Monumentata, it was initially a different song. It was the same chords in the chorus, and there was a guitar melody that I felt that, oh, that should be a nylon guitar, and that should be Steve playing it. That was also a melody I had in my ears for at least 5 years. And I thought, this is going to be a wonderful song. Turned out, and I started working with it, it didn't go anywhere. I didn't know. It just felt like, oh, at the best moments was like almost rehashing some old Genesis vibes. And I didn't want to go there. I've done that, you know. So I gave up. I was like, oh, fuck it. You know, I'm going to trash this song. Wait a minute. And then I heard a different melody during those chords and the choruses and a new bass line, and I had a new chorus. Now, how do I write the verses? What do I use? So I actually went back to the song "That's Not Me" and took the extended chorus. I don't know whether you notice it's the same chord and same melody, but in such a different shape and form that you have to listen carefully.
Right.
You realize, oh, that's from "That's Not Me." Well, it's a kind of a proggy thing to do, isn't it? Revisit bits. And I just had a new song, and it was quite effortless once I got it going. And the idea of having three-part harmony on the choruses, that just came instantly. I heard the layers in my head. It's got to be that. So that was a very rewarding moment doing so. And I agree, it's probably one of the strongest songs I ever written, let alone the lyrics. I mean, it has a lot to do with the lyrics, the lyric content of losing my dad, or what could have been. So I fully agree, and thank you for that. I really love that song. It grabs a hold of my heart.
Over your career, you're known for telling stories with your songs and
Yeah,
creating these characters and letting us kind of peek through the window in at their lives. But on this record, it's you. It's more personal. Was there any trepidation about letting us peek through the window and see you?
there was some moments I was thinking, am I gonna let it all hang out? But this time around, I felt, why not just go almost all the way? Just this is me. This is. I think my fans, my devoted fans, I've had for years and years. They're so lovely. They send me gifts. They just absolutely wonderful, wonderful fans. They deserve to get the real me. They deserve to get to know who they're really talking to. If they're gonna worship me this much, they got to know who they're worshiping. I'm almost quoting Joni Mitchell now, but that's what you said once. But they deserve that.
Yeah.
So I'm exposing more of my, who I am as a personal person, my sexuality. I'm a gay man, and I never said anything about it. But I thought, what the fuck? I'm 66. Who's gonna care? Most people have gay friends anyway. So, but I just I just thought that probably people know. They understand that must be the case with Nad, but it was never discussed. It was never out in the open. I just felt like, okay, it comes from me now. So just so you know, this is me. And so, but that's just a little fracture of the whole being that I am. It's so much more to who I am. And, but anyway, that felt like a nice outlet, and I was yearning to do that. But also some other lyrics, it's about my life on the road, my search for love. Yeah, I'd say it's a quite vulnerable album, but it also got some nice storytelling about other people as well, such as Monte Carlo Priceless, with this beaten up woman who just escapes from Nova Scotia to Monte Carlo, has a facelift, and becomes a prostitute. Um, why not? And
Quite the
Flower.
story. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a nice story, and it's a nice song. And Flowerland is about this old hippie couple that is reminiscing about the youth. They were probably at the Woodstock Festival at some point, and they're still together, but they're old potheads, so they don't remember that much.
And you do a lot of the heavy lifting musically on this record too, but you also bring in some special guests here and there with some of the instrumentation. Who are some of the people that you worked with on this record?
Well, Tony Levin is back. He's been playing. This is the fourth album he plays on with me. Nick Beggs is back for one track. He played on virtually the whole Courting the Widow album, apart from two tracks. Malcolm Inneman is new, but I've worked with him previously with Steve Hackett back in '19 when he played with us on the cruises. So we hit it off and became friends. And then Mikko de Maio on drums, who's the current drummer of Flower Kings, and he played on Spiritus Mundi, and he's a good drummer and a very nice, meticulous guy, and I just wanted him in again for a couple of tracks. And then I had Felix Lerman for the first time, who used to play with the Flower Kings, who's now been playing with Steve Hackett. So he's a lovely man, absolutely big heart, sweet, and extremely professional guy. Very young, he's only 40. I don't know, in comparison to myself. But and who else do I have on? Jonas Reingold, of course, plays a couple of. and then Randa McStein, who I've gotten to know through Jonas, plays on a couple of tracks, and Neil Whitford, who played on Spiritus Mundis on Flowerlands, doing some atmospheric stuff like some ambient guitar playing. Mm. And then Joe Dennison from Kansas, the band Kansas, current violin player, tracked solo for me on the song called I'm Stepping Out.
And I love, in just going through the list of names that you mentioned there, you could tell just how diverse sonically this record is. There's certainly some progressive moments. There's, the straight ahead rock of That's Not Me. There's some jazz, kind of that 60s vibe. You mentioned Monte Carlo Priceless.
Uh-huh.
Now, I even felt a little bit of gospel, I think, in Make Somebody Proud in certain parts.
You're right. Oh, I forgot to say, I got Jade L and Shiona Urquhart, who sang with me on The Bride Said No, and also I guess were they on Regal Bastard? I can't remember now. Maybe they were, but they I wanted them back for this track.
Did you set out to kind of bring all of these influences in, or is that something that just comes as you compose the record itself?
The latter. Mm-hmm. It just comes. I can't explain where it comes from. But, I've been a songwriter for, God, it's got to be, it's over 50 years now, since 73. So the influences I have at this age, they're very vast. There are lots of influences that I can draw from. But usually the way I compose, I dictate a hum in melodies in my phone, stuff that just comes. And so I have a vast library of ideas, and if one idea comes back, like I recorded a second or third time, I know, this idea is ripe to work with. It's going to go places. So that's how I do things. I don't really care if the album is super coherent, like it's one mood throughout the whole album. I think it's more important that the songs are strong.
Yeah.
And also my way of writing, I don't hear anyone else write like I do. Mm-hmm. Combine these elements. I bring in R&B and soul and funk into progressive rock. You tell me who else is doing that? I can't hear it. I'm definitely not anywhere near the likes of Steven Wilson, who's definitely doing his own thing. And I would never want to be, Maybe he wants to be Nad Sylvan. Who knows? I don't think so. No. So, of course, I strive for originality, but I don't think about it so much. I just do whatever comes into my head and that I like.
Right. With Spiritus Mundi, it was a very collaborative record. And when we spoke back then for that record, you mentioned that you were writing, but you were still open to doing some collaboration. But on Monumentata, you did everything. Does the type of project, because it's a very personal record, does that drive your desire to collaborate?
My collaborations in the past has been like very spontaneous things. Like, for instance, on the Bride Said No album, I had co-written a few songs with Anders Wahlbeck because he was constantly at me. I got this idea. I want you to sing this. And I was listening to, we can work with this one. We can work with that. And it just ended up on the album. With Spiritus Mundi, it was my idea to bring in Andrew and his song ideas. Basically, the songs on Spiritus Mundi are his, but I toyed around with them and extended them and arranged and produced them. Mm-hmm. But it's basically all his melodies and his chords, with me sort of paraphrasing some lines that I thought might work better, or some modulations. So that was definitely I get the writing credits too, because the record wouldn't sound like it does without my part of it as well. So if I listen back to his demos, it's a huge difference. Anyway, so that was intentional, and that was my COVID album. I call it my COVID because we were in lockdown, all of us, but I haven't made a record with my strictly my own songs since Courting the Widow. That's 10 years ago. And I just felt I had so much material stored or installed. I just thought I've got enough music to make a double album if I wanted to, but I don't want to. I wanted to make a single LP, two sides, a perfect LP,
Mhm.
and that's what I've done.
Yep. And when I listen to this record, I can picture these songs being played live in a very stripped down kind of setting. Oh, you're always on the road with Steve, but do you ever see yourself being able to get in some solo shows to promote this record?
Question is how and when.
Mhm.
I'm so busy with Steve, it's crazy. And as I've gotten older, I also get very tired.
Mhm.
Also have some physical problems sometimes from touring so much. Right now I'm fine, but it can be hard. Uh, the moment I would think would be most appropriate to bring this on the road is once Steve finally decides to slow down
Yeah.
and not tour like 6 months of the year or 5 months. It gets hard for me to. I mean, I need to wind down after a tour.
Mhm.
And I got a house to maintain and a cat and a boyfriend.
Yeah.
So I need to I need to sort myself out in
Yeah.
between tours. If I go out, it would probably be when Steve has quit or slow down
Mhm.
substantially, and also just down to me to afford everything,
Mhm.
and to do it. I need someone to work, do that stuff for me,
Right.
like in management. I can't do it. I don't know how to do that at all.
Mhm. And speaking of touring with Steve, you guys are on the road throughout this year playing highlights from Lamb Lies Down on Broadway,
Yeah.
which is having its 50th anniversary this year.
Uh-huh.
And that record means so much to so many people. Do
Hmm.
you have a relationship with that record, or is it just material that you're presenting?
That was my gateway to
Yeah.
Genesis. 50 years ago, I fell in love with the Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. I was working my first job ever after I just finished school. I got this job in a record store just for the summer,
Mhm.
and was a sort of coworker of mine that just, what are you listening to? I'm listening to Uriah Heep with Deep Purple. I said, that's shit. Listen to this. and he presented the Lamb to me. He said, what's that? Well, I've seen the name Genesis somewhere.
Mhm.
I was familiar with the name, but I had never heard any music by them at all.
Mhm.
So he played me the Lamb, the first track, and I got hooked immediately. And I wondered, can I buy this on a single? No, you can't. You have to buy the whole double album. Couldn't afford it at the time. So I borrowed some money from my grandfather and bought the album and played it to death the whole
Mhm.
summer. So if you ask me if it means something to me, that's life's come full circle to
Yeah.
sing those songs. It's incredible, really.
Mhm. Yeah, and I can't wait. You'll be hitting here on the East Coast in the fall, so I'll definitely be catching a couple of those shows. And
Yes.
we've been spending some time here with Nad Sylvan. The record is called Monumentata. It's out everywhere June 20th. Like I said, I personally think it's, for me, I think it's my favorite of your solo albums. So
Wow.
best of luck with the record. And
Well, I read a horrible review of it saying that it's my most mediocre album ever.
really,
Now, this guy hasn't been listening through the album properly. But I don't care. I really
yeah.
don't care because I'm happy with it. And that's all that matters.
Yeah, well, for me, I think the personal nature of the songs resonated with me because I
Yeah.
think when you do that correctly, which you did, I don't have to have the same life experience that you have, but I could see my experiences in your songs. And I think that comes through.
Well, yeah, and also the proggy aspects is when it gets busy, when it
Mhm.
gets really proggy, because there are moments where it gets a bit complicated, bits and pieces. But the diehard cliche progger, it needs his 7/8, 9/8, whatever, and it needs things to be. It's like you make complicate music for the sake of it,
Right.
rather than having.
Mm.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah.
I got delivery here. Just a moment. Hallå, är du utanför?
Yeah.
Det blir bra. Tack ska du ha. Ja, hej. Oh, it was the post office, some delivery. They'll be here in 5 minutes. Done in
Yeah. Well, then I won't keep you. But again, thank you so much for taking the time to do this, and best of luck with the record. It really is a wonderful record.
Well, thank you very much. And you cheered me up because I got really pissed off on that review. I thought, it's not mediocre, you idiot. They just don't say, oh, you want the cliche prog. I'm gonna listen to Courting the Widow again. Oh, that's the best album. Oh, give me a break. I'm a progressive artist. I move on, you know?
That's for sure. Well,
Stupid people.
best of luck, and we'll catch you on the road in the fall here in the Northeast of the US.
Okay, lovely. Okay,
Thank
thanks
you.
for the
Yeah,
thank
bye.
you. Bye.